all the people that you didn't want to go up against on a battlefield like that was Rufus Dawes and his Westerners. Those Western troops were tough, and he was tough. More importantly, he was tough and experienced.
Throughout human history, conflicts have often culminated in intense, brutal battles. From the ancient sands of Carthage to the urban battlegrounds of World War II, these bloody confrontations have shaped the course of empires, nations, and the world itself. Let us journey through time, exploring 15 of the bloodiest battles ever fought. Number 1. Battle of Cannae, 216 BCE. During the Second Punic War, the Battle of Cannae stands out as a testament to tactical prowess and brutal efficiency. Fought on August 2, 216 BCE, near the ancient city of Cannae in Apulia, southeastern Italy, this battle pitched the Carthaginian forces under the command of Hannibal against the might of the Roman Republic, led by Lucius Aemilius Paulus and Gaius Terentius Varro. Hannibal, already famous for his audacious crossing of the Alps, demonstrated the power of superior tactics and leadership. He fielded a diverse army consisting of his African infantry, Gallic allies, and Balearic slingers against Rome's much larger army of about 86,000 soldiers, composed of Roman legions and allied infantry. The aftermath of the Battle of Cannae sent shockwaves throughout the Roman Republic and the wider Mediterranean world. Rome refused Hannibal's offers of peace, instead choosing to continue the war, which would last over a decade more. Despite the defeat, Rome's ultimate victory in the Second Punic War speaks volumes about its resilience. Still, the Battle of Cannae holds a prominent place in military studies, with Hannibal's tactics extensively analyzed and admired. The battle symbolized the height of Carthaginian power and Hannibal's genius as a military commander, and it remains one of the bloodiest single-day battles in history, illustrating the high human cost of warfare. Number 2. Siege of Carthage, 146 BCE. The Siege of Carthage marked the climactic end of the Third Punic War between the burgeoning Roman Republic and the dwindling Carthaginian Empire. The event is etched in history as a prolonged and deadly encounter, culminating in a tragic end for Carthage. Carthage, once a prosperous and influential sea power, was situated in present-day Tunisia. After 2 devastating Punic Wars, Carthage's strength had significantly diminished. Rome, driven by fear of Carthaginian resurgence and a desire for complete dominance in the Mediterranean, declared the Third Punic War in 149 BCE. Carthage, under siege, held out for 3 long years. The Roman strategy, led by Scipio Aemilianus, was methodical and relentless. They constructed a blockade to cut off supplies, effectively starving the Carthaginians. Over time, as resources depleted and despair spread, the city's defenses began to falter. In 146 BCE, the Romans launched their final assault, breaking through the city's defenses. The assault was marked by horrific street-to-street fighting. The Romans, superior in numbers and weaponry, slaughtered thousands. It is estimated that out of approximately 400,000 inhabitants, only about 50,000 survived, most of whom were sold into slavery. The city itself was razed and burned for days. According to a popular, albeit debated, narrative, the Romans even sowed the land with salt to ensure nothing would grow again, signifying a total erasure. Number 3. Battle of Changping, 260 BCE. The Battle of Changping, one of the deadliest in ancient Chinese history, occurred during the Warring States period. The conflict pitted the state of Qin against the state of Zhao. Fought over several years, the battle's climax in 260 BCE resulted in a decisive Qin victory, marking a pivotal moment in their eventual unification of China. The Battle of Changping was characterized by strategic maneuvers, attrition warfare, and unprecedented brutality. Both states mobilized massive armies, with Zhao reportedly fielding about 450,000 troops and Qin about 600,000. The conflict dragged on for several years, marked by standoffs, skirmishes, and tactical stalemates. The turning point came when the Qin general, Bai Qi, took command. Employing a ruthless strategy, he trapped the Zhao forces in a besieged encampment, cutting off their supply lines. The Zhao army, starved and weakened, was ultimately massacred. Historical records suggest that only about 400 Zhao soldiers survived out of the initial 450,000, highlighting the sheer scale of devastation. The consequences of Changping resonated throughout the Warring States period. The Zhao state, severely weakened, never recovered its previous power. Meanwhile, the Qin state grew in power and prestige, eventually conquering the other warring states and establishing the Qin dynasty in 221 BCE. The Battle of Changping thus stands as a brutal chapter in the formation of a unified China. Number 4. Battle of Chibi, 208 CE. The Battle of Chibi, also known as the Battle of Red Cliffs, was a pivotal confrontation during the end of the Han Dynasty and the beginning of the Three Kingdoms period in China. Fought in the winter of 208-209 CE, it pitted the warlords Cao Cao, Sun Quan, and Liu Bei against each other in a fight for control over the Yangtze River. Cao Cao, having unified northern China under his rule, marched south with a massive fleet and infantry force, intending to extend his control over the whole of China. However, his southern counterparts, Sun Quan and Liu Bei, formed an unlikely alliance to resist this expansion. The actual battle took place on the Yangtze River, where Cao Cao's superior numbers were neutralized by the clever strategies of his opponents and unfavorable environmental conditions. Sun Quan's advisor, Zhou Yu, and Liu Bei's strategist, Zhuge Liang, engineered a plot using fire ships. The Allies set fire to a fleet of ships and sent them floating towards Cao Cao's navy, which was anchored close together. The result was a massive fire that spread quickly, wreaking havoc among Cao Cao's troops and ships. Historical accounts of the battle suggest the loss of life was enormous, particularly on Cao Cao's side. However, there's debate among historians regarding the precise figures. What is agreed upon, though, is the significant impact this battle had on China's future. It essentially halted Cao Cao's advance into the south, leading to the establishment of the Three Kingdoms, Wei, Shu, and Wu. Number 5. Battle of Towton, 1461. The Battle of Towton, fought on Palm Sunday, the 29th of March, 1461, is remembered as one of the bloodiest battles in English history. It was a major conflict during the Wars of the Roses, a series of civil wars for the throne of England between supporters of two rival branches of the royal house of Plantagenet, the House of Lancaster and the House of York. At Towton, the Yorkist forces under Edward IV confronted a larger Lancastrian army commanded by Henry Beaufort, Duke of Somerset. The battle was marked by its intensity, ferocity, and the use of the longbow, a weapon that could wreak havoc on massed infantry. The Yorkists triumphed, but the victory was not easily won. The fighting lasted for hours, with soldiers knee-deep in mud and snow, engaged in brutal hand-to-hand combat. Contemporary accounts describe the battlefield as a quagmire of blood and bodies. It's estimated that around 28,000 men died that day, a staggering number given the population of England at that time. The Battle of Towton was significant not just for its bloodshed, but also for its political repercussions. The Yorkist victory secured Edward IV's position as king and led to a brief period of stability in the tumultuous Wars of the Roses. The event remains a poignant reminder of the human cost of war and political ambition. Number 6. Conquest of Constantinople, 1453. The conquest of Constantinople in 1453 by the Ottoman Empire marked the end of the Byzantine Empire and a pivotal shift in world history. Led by Sultan Mehmed II, the Siege of Constantinople was a defining event of the 15th century, effectively closing the Middle Ages and ushering in the beginning of the Renaissance. The ancient city of Constantinople, modern-day Istanbul, was a symbol of Christian defiance against the encroaching Muslim Ottomans. Its formidable Theodosian walls had repelled numerous sieges over a millennium. However, the advent of gunpowder weaponry spelled doom for the city's outdated defenses. Mehmed's forces, numbering around 80,000 to 200,000, laid siege to the city on April 6, 1453. The Byzantine Emperor Constantine VI could muster only about 7,000 to 12,000 men to defend the city. The Ottomans deployed a number of colossal cannons, including the infamous Basilica cannon, which relentlessly bombarded the city walls. On May 29th, After a 53-day siege, Ottoman troops breached the walls, leading to fierce street-to-street fighting. By afternoon, the city fell. Historical records suggest the death toll was heavy, with tens of thousands of Byzantines killed or enslaved. The fall of Constantinople sent shockwaves throughout Europe and marked the end of the Eastern Roman Empire. It also gave the Ottomans a firm foothold in Europe, from where they would expand their empire. Number 7. Battle of Stalingrad, 1942 to 1943. The Battle of Stalingrad, fought between the Axis powers led by Nazi Germany and the Soviet Union, stands out as one of the bloodiest and most brutal battles of World War II. The battle lasted from August 23, 1942 until February 2, 1943, making it one of the longest battles in modern warfare. The German objective was to seize control of Stalingrad, a city bearing the name of Soviet leader Joseph Stalin, thus delivering a heavy psychological blow to the Soviet Union. However, the city's defenders were determined to resist at all costs. Stalingrad turned into a hellish battleground characterized by close-quarter combat within the ruined city and massive loss of life. The harsh Russian winter added to the woes of the Germans, who were ill-prepared for such conditions. In a dramatic turn of events, the Soviet Red Army launched Operation Uranus in November 1942, successfully encircling the German Sixth Army. The trapped German forces, despite Hitler's orders not to surrender, were eventually forced to capitulate in February 1943. The scale of human suffering at Stalingrad was immense, with an estimated 2 million casualties, including both military and civilian deaths. The battle marked a turning point in World War II, halting Germany's eastern expansion and beginning a series of strategic victories for the Allies. Stalingrad has since come to symbolize the resilience and sacrifice of the Russian people. Number 8. Battle of Verdun, 1916. The Battle of Verdun, one of the longest and deadliest battles of World War I, was fought from February 21st to December 18, 1916, between the German and French armies around the city of Verdun in northeastern France. The battle is infamous for its attritional warfare and the staggering loss of life. The German strategy, orchestrated by Chief of General Staff Erich von Falkenhayn, aimed to bleed the French white by capturing the symbolic fortress city of Verdun. The Germans believed that the French would commit their forces to recapture the city at any cost, leading to massive casualties. The initial German attack caught the French by surprise, and they managed to capture a significant portion of the French defenses. However, the French, under the leadership of Generals Philippe Pétain and Robert Nivelle, rallied and began a dogged defense. Over time, the battle transformed into a brutal war of attrition with little territorial gain. Both sides incurred heavy losses, with an estimated total of 700,000 to 900,000 casualties. The battle also showcased the horrific impact of modern weaponry, including machine guns, artillery, and poison gas. Though the battle ended inconclusively, it had a significant psychological impact on both nations. Verdun came to symbolize the futility and horror of trench warfare, forever ingrained in French and German national memory. Number 9. Battle of Antietam, 1862. The Battle of Antietam, also known as the Battle of Sharpsburg, was a crucial conflict during the American Civil War. Fought on September 17, 1862, near Sharpsburg, Maryland, it is considered the bloodiest single-day battle in American history, with about 23,000 casualties. The battle came at a critical point in the Civil War when Confederate General Robert E. Lee launched his first invasion of the northern states. His army, the Army of Northern Virginia, met the Union's Army of the Potomac, commanded by Major General George B. McClellan. The battle was characterized by fierce combat and significant losses on both sides. The fighting was concentrated around the cornfield, the West Woods, and the Sunken Road, or Bloody Lane, where troops fought each other in deadly close-range combat. Despite having the chance to overwhelm the Confederates, McClellan failed to capitalize on his numerical advantage. Antietam ended in a tactical draw, but the Union Army halted Lee's northern advance, giving it a strategic advantage. The battle had significant implications. It led to President Abraham Lincoln issuing the preliminary Emancipation Proclamation linking the abolition of slavery with the Union war effort, and it deterred British recognition of the Confederacy, a critical diplomatic victory for the North. Number 10. Battle of the Somme, 1916. The Battle of the Somme, fought from July 1st to November 18, 1916, was one of the largest and most lethal confrontations of World War I. It was waged along the Somme River in France between the German Empire and the Allied forces, primarily composed of British and French troops. The offensive was launched with the intention of relieving pressure on the French forces, then heavily engaged at Verdun, by weakening German lines and achieving a decisive breakthrough. The British, under General Sir Douglas Haig, initiated the attack with a week-long artillery bombardment, followed by an infantry advance. The first day of the battle proved to be the bloodiest day in the history of the British Army, with approximately 57,000 casualties, including 19,000 killed. However, the devastation didn't cease there. The fight devolved into a grueling war of attrition, characterized by small gains, fierce counterattacks, and a mounting death toll. By the time the battle ended in mid-November, both sides had suffered over 1 million casualties combined, making it one of the deadliest battles in human history. The territorial gains for the Allies were minimal, amounting to just a few miles. The Somme remains a potent symbol of the futility and indiscriminate slaughter of trench warfare. Number 11. Battle of Leipzig, 1813. The Battle of Leipzig, also known as the Battle of the Nations, fought from October 16, 1813, was the largest and one of the bloodiest conflicts of the Napoleonic Wars. The battle saw Napoleon Bonaparte's French army pitted against an allied coalition of Austrian, Prussian, Russian, and Swedish forces. Napoleon, aiming to maintain his control over Germany, faced an allied force nearly twice the size of his own. Despite the numerical disadvantage, he skillfully held the Allies at bay for several days. The fighting was intense and spread over a vast area around the city of Leipzig. On the fourth day, the Allied forces launched a massive assault, overpowering the French. Napoleon, unable to reinforce or resupply his troops sufficiently, was forced to retreat. The scale of casualties was immense, with estimates ranging between 80,000 to 110,000. The battle marked a significant turning point in the Napoleonic Wars. It effectively ended French power in Germany and set the stage for the invasion of France and Napoleon's subsequent abdication the following year. The Battle of Leipzig remains a landmark event in European history. Number 12. Battle of Wuhan, 1938. The Battle of Wuhan, which took place from July to October 1938, was one of the largest and longest battles of the Second Sino-Japanese War. Fought in and around the city of Wuhan in central China, this battle was significant both for its scale and its strategic implications. Wuhan, a crucial transportation and communication hub, was seen as the key to controlling central China. When the city of Shanghai fell to the Japanese in November 1937, the Chinese nationalist government, led by Chiang Kai-shek, began to prepare Wuhan for a major defensive stand. The Japanese, under the command of General Shunroku Hata, launched an offensive against Wuhan in the summer of 1938 with over 350,000 soldiers. The Chinese, with a force of nearly 1 million soldiers, were determined to hold their ground. In Wuhan, the fighting was fierce and protracted. The Chinese soldiers, despite being less well-equipped, fought with determination. However, the Japanese military's superior training and weaponry gradually wore down the Chinese forces. Moreover, the battle marked the first extensive use of Chinese Air Force and paratroopers, symbolizing the country's growing military capabilities. The Battle of Wuhan demonstrated to the world China's determination and ability to resist the Japanese invasion, helping to secure foreign aid that would prove crucial in the years to come. The event stands out as a testament to both the heroism and the suffering of those caught up in the vast theater of war. Number 13. Battle of Berlin, 1945. The Battle of Berlin, fought from April 16th to May 2nd, 1945, was the final major offensive of the European theater of World War II. The capital of Hitler's Third Reich was the ultimate target of the Allied forces, and its fall marked the effective end of Nazi Germany. Soviet Marshal Georgy Zhukov's First Belarusian Front, in conjunction with Marshal Ivan Konev's First Ukrainian Front, spearheaded the attack on the city. The Soviet forces vastly outnumbered the German defenders, who were a mixture of Wehrmacht, SS, Hitler Youth, and Volkssturm militia units. During the battle, the Reichstag, the German parliament building, became a symbolic target. On April 30th, as Soviet soldiers fought their way towards the Reichstag, Adolf Hitler committed suicide in his bunker. On May 2nd, General Helmut Weidling, the commander of the Berlin defense area, unconditionally surrendered the city to the Soviets. The Battle of Berlin was marked by intense combat and significant civilian casualties. The city itself was devastated, with numerous buildings destroyed or severely damaged. The estimated death toll for the battle ranges from 100,000 to 200,000 for the German forces, while Soviet casualties are estimated to be around 81,000 killed and 280,000 wounded. The Battle of Berlin is not only significant for its strategic and historical implications, but also for its human cost. The city's desperate defense and subsequent fall encapsulated the ferocity and scale of World War II, leaving a lasting legacy on the post-war world. It remains a potent symbol of the downfall of the Nazi regime and the victory of Allied forces. Number 14. Siege of Leningrad, 1941 to 1944. The Siege of Leningrad, one of the longest and most destructive sieges in history, was a military blockade undertaken by the German army against the Soviet city of Leningrad, now St. Petersburg, during World War II. Lasting from September 8, 1941 to January 27, 1944, the siege resulted in severe famine and was responsible for some of the greatest losses of life witnessed in a modern city. When Operation Barbarossa, Germany's invasion of the Soviet Union, commenced in June 1941, one of its key objectives was the capture of Leningrad, Russia's second-largest city. The city was of strategic importance due to its industrial capacity, its port, and its symbolic status as the former capital and the birthplace of the Russian Revolution. By early September, the German army had encircled the city and cut off all supply routes to the Soviet Union's northern capital. The ensuing blockade lasted for 872 days, during which the citizens of Leningrad faced extreme conditions. The siege was finally lifted in January 1944, when a Soviet offensive managed to drive the German forces away from the city. However, the aftermath was grim. Estimates suggest that around 1.5 million soldiers and civilians died in Leningrad during the siege, many from starvation, while another 1.4 million were evacuated. The Siege of Leningrad stands as one of the most poignant episodes of World War II, illustrating the human capacity for endurance in the face of unimaginable hardship. It left a profound scar on the Soviet psyche, becoming a symbol of the Soviet will to resist and the price they were willing to pay for victory. The heroic city of Leningrad was awarded the title Hero City in 1965, and the anniversary of the lifting of the siege is commemorated every year. Number 15. Battle of Gettysburg, 1863. The Battle of Gettysburg, fought from July 1st to July 3rd, 1863, was a turning point in the American Civil War and is often described as the war's bloodiest battle, with the highest number of casualties. Taking place in and around the town of Gettysburg, Pennsylvania, the battle pitted the Confederate Army of Northern Virginia, commanded by General Robert E. Lee, against the Union's Army of the Potomac, under the command of General George G. Meade. In late June 1863, Lee led his army through the Shenandoah Valley to begin his second invasion of the North. His objective was to influence Northern politicians to give up their prosecution of the war. The opposing forces initially clashed at Gettysburg on July 1st, with the Confederates pushing the Union forces back through the town. On July 2nd, Lee launched heavy assaults on both flanks of the Union line on Cemetery Hill and Culp's Hill. Fierce fighting occurred at Devil's Den, Little Round Top, the Wheat Field, Peach Orchard, and the Bliss Farm. But by the evening, the Union line was solidified and held strong. The Battle of Gettysburg resulted in an estimated 51,000 casualties in total, 28,000 Confederate and 23,000 Union, making it one of the deadliest battles in the Civil War. The defeat had a significant impact on the Confederacy, diminishing hopes of foreign recognition and severely demoralizing its army. The Battle of Gettysburg continues to be a significant symbol in American culture, representing not only a critical turning point in the Civil War, but also a reflection of the greater ideological struggle over the nation's direction. The courage and sacrifice shown by the soldiers on both sides continue to inspire, while the hallowed grounds of Gettysburg serve as a stark reminder of the cost of war.